All right, I guess we'll get going here. First of all, thank you so much for joining today's call. My name is Travis Marks. I'm the Director of Generations University at the Pension Boards. Just a little bit of housekeeping here. If you would, just put yourself on mute while the presentation's going on, and then we'll open up the call for questions at the end. There is the ability to type in a question in the chat box. If you look at the bottom of your screen and click on chat, you can put your question, and then we'll address it either throughout the presentation or at the end. And so I'd like to welcome Dan Eck with EMY, who's going to present on the topic of 10 simple steps to improving your retirement readiness. Dan?
Thanks, Travis. I appreciate that. And welcome, everyone. I've probably seen a few of you before, and you've seen me as well, or at least remember the jacket. So welcome again to this month's Power Up Your Finances session. Again, focusing on what is probably a universal goal of retirement, which means different things to everyone, but some of the steps to get there are the same. So we're going to walk through what we consider 10 of the important and simple steps to making sure that you're as ready as you can be for that important life goal. But as always, we want to talk about some of the financial resources available to you through PBUCC, and that includes access at no cost to you to the EY Navigate financial planning resources. As a member, you have access to our services at no cost to you. We're never going to sell you anything, so we don't have anything to sell. This makes available confidential and comprehensive financial planning, financial education, and access to a whole host of financial planning tools online that you can use as needed to help in any aspects of your financial plans as you go through this process. A lot of folks will start on the website, EY Navigate Digital. The site is there on the screen. It's pbucc.eynavigate.com. You can do a full retirement plan. You can run some calculators, watch some videos, some other webinars. You can also request a financial planner through the website, and once you have one, you can interact directly with them through a messaging service. Of course, you can always then just pick up the phone and talk to an EY financial planner directly. And a lot of folks start there as well. They just pick up the phone and call from day one. When you reach a financial planner on that line, that is a dedicated line for this program, which means you'll reach folks that know the TSA and your other benefits and talk to members every day. They know church finances and the housing allowance. And so you reach somebody that's very knowledgeable, specific to your needs and concerns and questions. And importantly, you can work with that same planner for as long as you need to. This is a program that's been around quite a while, and we hope it will continue to be around for a long time. And so if you reach Sam and you like Sam and you get along well with him and he's helping you, then Sam is your financial, and that could be true for years to come. Then we also have various learning opportunities that includes these monthly Power Up sessions. We offer a monthly workshop that's open to all of our clients, participants. So you'll see those on the website, and you're welcome to either register for one of those. You can also watch the recordings that we post on the website if you missed one that was delivered live. So we'll come back to this service as we go. There's only one thing I'm going to ask of all of you today. Otherwise, I just hope you sit back, relax, listen, and gain some valuable information. But the real value in what we'll do today comes at the end, in about a half hour, when I say that's it, and we're all done for the day. And you go back to probably 30 emails and phone calls and other priorities in your life. And it's easy to forget about what you learned here today and what we talked about and what you may have decided was really important to do. So I encourage you to grab a piece of paper, write the word personal action plan at the top, and jot down any action steps that occur to you or that I suggest to you that you need to follow up on after we're done here in about a half hour. That's your roadmap or blueprint once you leave to make sure you get some value for the time you spent here. Find those little nuggets of information, of action that you haven't done yet, you haven't thought about, and put those on your plan and make sure you do them as soon as you can. Hopefully you find some things that you've already addressed, you've already done, and you can ignore those, and it makes life a little bit easier. So the only ask I have is that personal action plan idea. Again, a notepad on your phone, grab a piece of paper and a pen. And at the end, my hope is you have a few things written down. It'll probably look different than anyone else that's on the meeting today. And that's exactly what the word personal means. I'll suggest a few of those as we go as well. One of the key terms and concepts in retirement planning is accumulation planning. That just means we're trying to grow as many assets as we can, so we have the flexibility to do what we want financially in retirement. So that's accumulation planning, and there are three distinct decisions that you make as you start to accumulate assets. We often think of it as the same decision, but there's really three steps to it. One is, how much money are we going to save? What's the dollar amount that either we can afford to save, which is often how we decide, or as we work with a financial planner, what's the right amount based on the goals that I have for retirement? How much should I be saving? The next step is, where do I put it? And that really talks about the type of account that you might use. Do I stick this retirement money in my checking account or savings account? Probably not. Do I use the TSA, or do I use an IRA at my bank, or does a spouse have something like a 401k? So there are accounts out there that are specifically designed for retirement, which means they have special advantages, typically tax advantages, if you save within those accounts. So how many dollars do I save? What type of account or accounts do I put those dollars in? And then the final decision is, how do I invest those dollars? Should I be a little more aggressive or conservative? And what kind of mix of stocks and bonds and cash type investments do I elect for those dollars? And we'll talk about that today. And that answer probably changes over time. So we'll look at the variables that impact that decision as well. But to go back to our agenda and our title, we're going to look at 10 steps that I want you to consider. And again, some you may have done as you think through your plan for retirement. The first step is to truly understand the timeline for your retirement, because most of us misestimate this if we just take a second to think about it. So I'm going to ask you to write down three numbers on your piece of paper. I always draw three circles and I put a dash in between, and we'll explain the dash in a minute. The first circle is your age today. That's the easiest one. It's on your driver's license if you need it. I just turned 50 this year. I'm quite proud of that. So I'm 50. And the second question is, what age do you think you might retire? We don't know, but we've thought about it. We've dreamed about it. We probably have a pretty good idea what age that could be. So pick the most likely one. I'm going to say 60. And then we go on to the third circle. The third circle is the hardest. I hope we don't think about it too much. Third circle is important for the financial planning process. We're going to ask you how long you might live, which is a better way than saying what age might you die, but that's really what we're asking about. We don't know. We hope it's a long time from now, but it impacts the finances of a retirement plan. So I could look at the life expectancy tables. I could look at my family history. I could just be conservative and go high, because the longer I might live, the more money I'm going to need. So I'll say 90. And so then we get to those dashes in between your circles, which is what we really care about here. And that's step one. In my plan, I'm 50 today. I'm going to retire at 60, live till 90. I have 10 years left to plan for, to accumulate dollars for what I just realized is a 30-year, 3-decade, a third of my lifetime retirement. It's a lot longer than most folks realize until they put the numbers down on paper. So it's important to understand your timeline first. How long do you have to still do some things to plan and to save? And then how long are we planning for where we're going to spend those dollars? So that's step one in the process. Jot that down as an action item if you didn't do it already. And then we get to step two, and I want to jump to this because it's the most exciting of the whole 10 steps. You get to dream a little bit. You get to think about what your picture of retirement really looks like. We've probably done this before, maybe not in detail, maybe not the detail I'll explain here, and maybe not with the rest of your family unit, whoever that might be, probably a spouse, maybe others as well, that might be involved and in your life in retirement. You may want to follow the kids around, and wherever they decide to settle down, you're going to move there so you're close to the grandkids. But I want you to think about what kind of house you're going to live in. Are you going to stay in the same house that's paid for? Are you going to buy a new house for the first time? Are you going to move into an apartment so you don't have all the maintenance? Same state, different state. If you move to another state, what are the taxes? What's the weather like? Do you need to buy a snowblower for the first time? Those are the kinds of mundane things maybe that are important in how we live our life, what it's like to live there, the environment, and of course the expenses, the finances. If we move to a higher tax state or a lower cost state for 30 years, that makes a difference on the numbers. Are you going to work part-time? And if so, what kind of job? What do you need for that job? Do you need insurance? Will it offer insurance? What might it pay? And how might that supplement your retirement plan? So step two is your picture of retirement. A lot of fun to think about. But I do encourage you to make sure that you and the rest of your family that are involved, especially the spouse, are in agreement. And I've seen it way too many times where at age 50, 55, or even older, I'll ask that question when I see a couple, and I'll ask them to describe their picture of retirement. And they take their turns, and then they look at each other shocked because they've never heard the other's story or picture, and it doesn't match theirs at all. So have the conversation as soon as you can. Again, it's a lot of fun. It's important to make sure you're on the same page, but it also drives step 3 in the process. Step 3 is to calculate your, what I call the price tag for your retirement. So how much might it cost to do all those things you just dreamed about for 30 years? That's a big ask. That's hard to do, but there are some ways that we can estimate that reasonably. But what we're really trying to get to is what we call the replacement ratio. How much of the money you're living on today, by the way, you're living on 100% of what you make because you either spend it or you save it. What percentage of that might you need to pay for your picture of retirement in those retirement years? And there's 2 things you need to answer that question, and we just did those. The first one is to have in mind that picture of retirement, to know how you're going to live, where you're going to live, what you're going to do to spend your time. Are you going to play golf every day? Are you going to travel the world? Are you going to travel the campgrounds of America? Those are very different price tags. And then figure out as best you can where your money goes today. And that's a difficult ask, something we've talked about here before. In fact, I'll encourage you to do what I call the notebook method. For 30 days, I want you to write down every dime that you spend, big and small, mortgage check, rent check, vending machine, everything in between, and then add them up, multiply by 12, and see exactly where all those nickels and dimes and 20s go throughout the year. It's a lot of decisions you can make once you see those numbers on your today spending, but it also helps you think about this step 3 for retirement. If you know exactly where all of your dollars go today, and you know how you want to live in retirement, you can figure out how each of those expenses might change when you reach your retirement years. There are expenses to having a job, to going to work every day, the clothes you have to buy and things like that. If you have a house and you're paying a mortgage and you pay that off at retirement, that housing expense goes away. You still have utilities. If you downside, the utilities are lower. So each expense is probably going to change. Right now you're saving for retirement. That's an expense that goes away at retirement because you reached your goal. So you'll see some expenses go away, others will go down, others are going to go up. Think about insurance and things like that. But as you look at each expense, how they might change, you can look at the bottom line and find out you probably need about 80% of what you're living on today. Maybe it's 60%. Maybe it's 110% if you're going to travel the world and have a great time. But that's step 3 in the process. What is that price tag? And it's all based on where your money goes today and how that might change based on what your picture of retirement is now and in the future. So again, an action item. There's a home budgeting calculator on the EY Navigate website that can help you do exactly what I talked about. So, of course, always a conversation you could just have directly with your EY financial planner. Step 4 in our process is the other side of the financial equation. You figured out what the price tag is. Now we have to figure out where that money is going to come from. And it's usually a multiple choice answer. There's usually several resources available to you. Social Security is still around, so you have that benefit that you have funded, of course, but it comes from the federal government when you reach retirement. You have the pension, the annuity plan here at PBUCC that's extremely valuable to help fund that picture of retirement. But no matter where you work and what resources are available to you, we all have some responsibility to save for our own retirements, to save our own dollars for that goal, whether that's in the TSA as well, in an IRA or some other account. So it's all of those combined resources that answer step 4. Where's that money going to come from? On the website ssa.gov for Social Security, you can run the pension or the retirement estimator to put in variables on what your pay increases are going to be from now to when you retire, what age you might retire. The website, once you register, knows how much you've made through your career to this point, and that's a factor in your Social Security estimate. And then you just decide what that's going to look like in the future, and it will give you an estimate of what your Social Security benefit might be. If you sign on to pbucc.org, you'll see the path on the screen. You can run a projection on the annuity plan to see what that monthly benefit might be for you in retirement. And then when you talk to your EY financial planner, we can incorporate those benefit projections into a broader financial plan for the retirement goal. incorporating how much you might need, other resources available to you, Social Security and the annuity plan, and find out very directly if you're on track for that retirement goal. This is exactly what it looks like. So on the My Goals and Finances section of the EY Navigate website, you'll find several goals available that you can walk through, one of which is plan for retirement. You can do this completely on your own. It's a quick process and ask some easy questions, or you can work through it with your EY financial planner. We'll use the same goal, the same platform to run the numbers. You answer a few questions. You think about things like inflation and interest rates on your investments, how long you might live, how much you might need, things we've talked about here. And you pull in all of those resources available to you for yourself, from your spouse, and it will tell you at the end whether or not you're on track for retirement. You see the red line here. It looks like you're going to run out at some point. We're all going to run out at some point. Question is when. What's nice though is then you can change your variables very directly and see immediate results. So we said we're going to retire at 55 and the plan doesn't work. Let's change that to 57 or 60 or 62. And we find out as we increase our working age, our retirement age, the plan works. We can save a little bit more. We have 10 years left in my example. And if I save a third more or twice as much, what does that do to my retirement plan? I can live a little less longer. I suppose dying early is one of the better ways to make the plan work. It's not something we want to think about, but you can see the impact of all of those variables very directly on the website once you do your plan until you find a plan that works. Then you can lock it in and you can come back and revisit that plan and adjust for changes. If you change your mind on retirement age, your balances go up or down, then you can adjust that plan and make sure that you stay on track once you find a plan that works for you. So now we're kind of in the implementation phase. We found a plan that worked, and it assumes that we're at some savings level. We're saving our own dollars. We're invested. We're earning a certain rate of return that we've assumed. Now we want to make sure that that process is as easy as possible. So step 6 in our process today is automating your retirement savings. Probably doing that already. If you're saving in the TSA, you're doing that through payroll deductions. It's very easy. It's kind of forced savings. We don't think about it. We don't have to make a decision every time we get a paycheck to put more money away for retirement. It just happens. You can log on to PBUCC again, and you can update. You can start saving. You can increase your contributions, and we'd like to see you increase those contributions over time, especially if the plan says you need to. But it's not just about the TSA. You can go elsewhere and save even more for your retirement goal. Still looking at some of those tax advantaged retirement accounts like IRAs. If you go to your bank or a credit union and you set up an IRA, which is just like the TSA, but it's an individual retirement account, just means you're doing it on your own. You can set up an automatic fund transfer. Every month, send $50 out of my savings account directly into the IRA, or every year when you get your tax refund, that's what you use it for, to fund that IRA contribution for the year. Now we're automating the growth and the increase in our savings and our retirement plan balances over time. If you're in a high deductible health plan and you have an HSA, that's a different type of savings vehicle, also with tax advantages. It's just money that you're setting aside specifically for healthcare costs, either today or even in retirement. That could be done through payroll deduction, through transferring funds automatically. Automating your savings is really one of the best things you can do to make sure you stay on track for retirement. If every 2 weeks we get paid and every 2 weeks we have to decide to send $100 towards retirement or get a pizza and go see a movie with the family, we're human. We're going to enjoy ourselves today some of the time. When you sign up and it's automatic deduction, automatic transfer, again, we don't have to make that decision. We don't have to think about it. It just happens, and we save a lot more because of it. Next step in that process, going back to the very beginning, we've decided how much we're going to save and which account we're going to put it in. But in some of those accounts, we have choices. So you'll see in the TSA, you can save your money on a pre-tax or an after-tax basis. Other plans, if you may have had a 401k or your spouse does today, they may have pre-tax and Roth. If you go to your credit union, they likely offer both pre-tax or traditional and Roth IRAs. So let's talk about these terms. Pre-tax, which is your primary option in the TSA, means every dollar you put into that account today is a dollar you don't put on your tax return today. You save taxes today by saving money for retirement on a pre-tax basis. So if I make $50,000 and I put $5,000 into a pre-tax retirement account, I only show the IRS $45,000 today, and that's what I pay tax on. And then the money grows tax deferred for the rest of my career. I don't pay taxes on it. Only at the end, as I retire and pull money out, is it possibly subject to income tax. And if I'm clergy and this is out of the TSA and I'm getting payments and I'm eligible for the housing allowance part, or all of that may not be taxable even then. So I get a tax break today, no taxes as it grows, and then it's only taxed at the end. And but again, I'll look at the housing allowance to see what benefit that provides to me if I'm clergy. The Roth, if you have that available in another account, is exactly the opposite. There's no tax break today. So I put the money in, I pay tax on my income, my wages, I put it in the Roth account, but then I'm done forever on taxes. There's no taxes as that account grows. All the earnings that accumulates are tax deferred. And then in fact, when I reach retirement and I pull money out of, let's say, a Roth IRA or my Roth 401k at another company, or my spouse's Roth 401k, there are no taxes due upon withdrawal in retirement. Pre-tax is a tax break today. Roth is a tax break at the end. Again, pre-tax is your primary option here, in part because of the housing allowance for clergy there at retirement. So again, we've got several decisions along the way. How many dollars should I save? What kind of account? Within that account, which way do I save it? And again, we want to make it as simple as possible. Going to that third step in the accumulation process, now I have to think about how I invest it. I figured out how many dollars to save and which account to put it in, but now I have an investment decision, and you could argue that may be the most important decision. And for a lot of us, simplifying that decision is really valuable. So there's lots of ways you might be able to simplify that process, depending on which account you're using and where that account is. Many retirement accounts have things that are called target date or balanced funds. We'll talk about those in a minute. You may have a feature that lets you auto rebalance. So you choose the mix of investments that you like, and every 6 months it rebalances back to that same mix in case they've gotten out of line a bit. You can also pay somebody to manage your investment decisions for you in what's called a managed account. In the TSA, you have target annuitization funds, the same as a target date fund, where really the only decision you need to make is at what year you think you're going to annuitize that plan, or you're going to need the dollars to start coming your way in retirement from the TSA. Once you do that, you're essentially done. There's multiple decisions you would normally have to make. You have to decide on the asset allocation. What percentage of my money goes into stocks, large and small stocks, international stocks, bonds of various types, cash. So I have to choose that asset allocation. I have to come back every 6 months and rebalance because stocks went up and bonds went down and it's a different percentage now. And then I probably need to change that mix as I get closer to retirement and I want to be a little less aggressive, maybe a little more conservative. But with the target annuitizations funds, all I have to do is pick that year that I'm going to need the money, and that fund does all of that for me. It chooses the right allocation today based on my age and based on the year that I want the money, and it will rebalance and maintain that mix. And also over time, it will change that mix very deliberately to get progressively more conservative, not too conservative. Because remember, the day I retire at 60, I've got 30 more years to go. So I still need to ride out those ups and downs and earn a higher rate of return, but it's going to change that mix for me and make sure it maintains the right mix all the way through without me ever thinking about it again. It's a one-stop shop autopilot choice for investing inside your retirement accounts. And again, in the TSA, you have that in the tune to the tune of the target annuitization funds. Steps 9 and 10 are the next steps. We talked about the EY financial planning services, and what we just talked through today very briefly is one fantastic example of how we can help. In fact, investment decisions and retirement planning are the top 2 calls to the financial planner line across all of our programs, certainly including from members at PBUCC. And again, the number you see on screen, 877-927-1047, is dedicated and specific to your program and to other participants. You call that number, you'll reach one of our dedicated financial planners to this program that knows your benefits, knows your culture, resources, and the housing allowance, and can talk through budgeting, estate planning, insurance, and of course, retirement and asset allocation. You like the planner that you're working with, you can work with that same planner as long as you like. We'll simply schedule follow-up calls and continue that conversation over the months and over the years. The last step in the process is to make sure you do whatever the plan tells you need to do. If it says you're on track based on the amount you're going to save and how much you're going to earn, now it's important to monitor that plan to make sure you're earning the rate of return that the plan says over time. It's always going to fluctuate. But if we're targeting 6 or 7% a year, make sure we're getting that over time. If we said we'd save 8% of our pay, make sure we do that. If we got a plan that doesn't quite work, but we need to work an extra couple of years, save a little bit more, invest differently. The last step is to make those adjustments now and ongoing to make sure our plan does work and will continue to work. And you always have an EY financial planner there at your side to help you through that process. We can schedule 6-month follow-up calls, even if that's just to go back to the plan, put in current balances, make sure the plan still works, make sure you're still comfortable with the assumptions, and then we're good for the next 6 months. My ask up front is that you jotted down some action items that you need to address and think about completing after we're done here. We'll be done in about 5 minutes as planned. I'm going to encourage you to do at least 3 of those in the next week or so, just to start the momentum and make sure you do something. You're much more likely to do it if you write it down. You're much more likely to complete the list if you do 1 as quickly as you can and realize, you know what, it's not that bad. So pick the easiest one, or 2 or 3. We ask you to commit to at least 3 on your list, and it may be some of those that you see here. Get those done as soon as you can. Talk to an EY financial planner. Start on the website and go through that plan for retirement goal on your own if you prefer that. It's a great thing to do on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning. And you can always reach out to a planner through the website, on the phone, Monday through Friday, anytime you need to have a conversation directly with us. Love to get your feedback on the workshop itself. If you'd like to send a text on your phone to the number you see on the screen, and then just type in WKSP for workshop and then PBUCC. This is not a subscription. We're not going to steal your number and use it for bad things. We're just going to send you 1 text back, and it'll have 2 links in it. It'll have a link to a workshop evaluation. It will also have a direct link to the EY Navigate digital website for PBUCC members. So you can click on it. If you've already been there, you can log in. If you've not, you can register, which takes about 2 minutes. And you can start exploring today all of the calculators and videos and webinars and education materials that you'll find on the site. You can also click on the Work with a Planner button and ask to be connected directly with a financial planner. We'll assign a planner to you. They'll reach out, schedule an appointment, and have that first conversation, and then away you go from there. With that, looks like there are a couple of entries in the chat. Let's pause for questions and see what questions we have. So first one is on the housing allowance. So as long as you're receiving dollars from a church-sponsored plan, the housing allowance is still available in retirement. Again, a conversation that we have every day on the planner line. So call your planner, talk through what that means. We do see in some cases that folks will roll money out of church plans. We work with several church organizations. You're a bit limited here in doing that. But if you were to roll it out into another plan, you wouldn't have that housing allowance available. So there's some important considerations that you need to be aware of and think about up front and ahead of time to make sure you avoid some of the common mistakes. So the answer is yes, even in retirement, as long as it's a church eligible plan. Travis, if you can remind folks the participant ID number that they'll need and where they can find it. That's a pretty common question, and one that's not always the easiest for them to find. If you don't mind coming off mute and addressing that one, I'll put the phone number back up for that text to get the link to the website and to the workshop evaluation.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. In order to contact EMY, all you need is your pension board's member ID to identify yourself, and then you'll be connected with one of the planners.
Let's see, I think we got the last one is what's better for a retired pastor, a 403B or a 401? I assume you mean a 403B or a 401k in terms of the retirement plans. That's really a choice based on where you work, and it might be that you have both from different employers, so they both really work the same way. Those are both retirement accounts that have tax advantages associated with them to let you save your money for retirement. To the extent you're using the TSA plan, which is a form of a retirement plan, it is a church-sponsored plan. So of course that makes it housing allowance eligible because you say you are a pastor. Travis, are they able to roll money into the TSA from other outside accounts?
Yes, yes, you can do that. You have an account open, you are allowed to roll over funds, pre-tax funds For sure. So give us a call, give member services a call, and we'll be able to help you out with that.
And Travis, we have one more from Heather. Either doesn't have an ID or just is looking to find it. I'm not sure, so maybe we answer.
Yeah, we'll help you out with that, Heather. I'll be happy to send you an email, or if you don't mind, just putting in your number. Maybe I could just give you a call real quick.
Great, thank you. I will. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Scrolling through, I think we've hit them all. Again, the numbers up. We have up. What is the phone number? I was told that I could not add to my retirement by PBUCC. Are you still active or are you already retired? That would be an important follow-up question to that. And that might be what's behind that. Still active. So I don't know if there's a special circumstance there or not.
Yeah, that's another one where Dan, perhaps I can give you a ring and just clarify where you are, or David, sorry about
David, yeah.
David, sorry about that. If you don't mind, just throwing your phone number on there, and then I'll be happy to give you a call.
And Travis, any internal maximum contribution limits to the TSA other than annual IRS limits?
Just the annual limit per year in contributions. Rollovers, there should be no limit on that. But yeah, so
the IRS limits contributions to plans like this, 401k plans at companies, $20,500 is the annual limit. If you're 50 or older this year, they allow, or when you turn 50 or older, they allow what they call a catch-up contribution. This year, that's an extra 6,500, which means you can do 27,000 in total if your cash flow allows it to a retirement plan like a 401k, like the TSA. That's a combined limit if you happen to have access to multiple plans. In addition to that, you can still go to your bank or credit union or investment firm and set up an IRA, an individual retirement account, and do another 6,000, or if you're 50 or older, 7,000 into the IRA. So if you have the cash, you can do both, and you can max out both. Great, thanks, Judith. We do have the text number and the text screen or string of words in the chat now, as well as on screen. Again, just a one-time text to us, one-time text back. We'll give you the workshop evaluation, as well as that direct link to the website, which is pbucc.eynavigate.com. But you'll get a direct link to that on your phone, which lets you start using the site right away once you register. I've got a couple minutes. I'll pause to see if any other questions come in. That's some good ones so far. Any closing thoughts, Travis? Anything I missed?
Thank you, Dan. I just wanted to mention one thing. If you go to the pension board's website, let me just share my screen real quick.
Right, I'll stop. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna, hopefully I'm sharing my screen right now.
Got it.
Okay. If you go to the pension board's website, and if you go down to member education over here, we have a list of the upcoming EMY sessions here. So that is, if you just click on group learning, you'll see it here, and you'll see that, we just did this session. This registration link will be available shortly. We try to get them there pretty soon after the old one, or the current one takes place. We swap that out, and we'll add that here for the June session. The other thing that you'll see is at the bottom, you'll see recordings for past sessions, as well as the slides to past sessions. So if you're interested in learning about other topics, you can find them here. Here's for 2022 year to date, and then 2020. There's also the holiday schedule for EMY, so when they're not going to be available if you need to call. But so I just wanted to point that out, and you could learn more about the different programs by clicking on EMY buttons and learning there. So anyway, if you haven't taken advantage of the EMY financial planning services, I would say just give them a call, and you could talk about any type of topic, financial topic, or a life event that you're going through, and they'll be able to help you out. So that's all I had. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Well, thank you all so much for your time today, and the recording of this will be on the website. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the pension boards or the EMY. And then for David and for Heather, I will follow up with you today. So just hang tight and just wait for my call. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right.